You're watching Ryan's Big Ideas.
Hey, this is my 1985 Bobcat right here, and we are in the process of doing some things to it here. It's been a long time coming, I can tell you that much. We're in the middle of refurbishing. I wouldn't really call it a full restoration, but you know. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, jerry-rigged unit. I picked it up for pretty cheap, and I put this engine in it and rewired it, and you know, we'll see how long it lasts. I've had it running before, but now we are on to fixing the pumps. And I don't know if this unit was involved in a fire or what, but the more I dig into it, the more I think that it's been on fire. It has a real pungent, dirty, fiery smell coming from certain parts. And this is the pumps. Hydrostatic drive pumps that we're working on. These are a vintage style piston pump. There's the old one there. Well, I should say that's the one we're not taking apart. We've already completely stripped down this casting. And I'll focus in on that for you so you can see. But look at that. Look at that corrosion. You know, look at that. You know, and then that of course caused it to leak, and I had it running. Here we go. See if we can drive it around for once. caused it to leak, and I just didn't really feel comfortable. So this ring trunnion cover sits right here, and then there's a O-ring that sits behind this trunnion cover, and this whole clip that was in there, I took it all apart because it was leaking from here, and I determined that I needed to take this out and inspect it. So I pulled it out of the machine, and I found this weird corrosion, which I can imagine is probably somehow from this dissimilar metals over time corroding this part. And the other one's fine. You know, like here's one that's in way better shape. I ordered this from a guy and had him, so I'm going to use that casing. I'm going to use all my rotating group, and need to wash all these parts and get them ready. This is all my refurbished controls, and they were all in really horrible shape, and they look better than this, but then I sprayed some rust preventative solution on there. It's a product that I really like to use. It's a Loctite brand. It does pretty well. So yeah, and then we've got this brake that we're working on. That was a fiasco. I don't know. This is a whole parking brake assembly, and that goes in the middle of the chain case, and I'm going to try to get that working because, you know, safety first. If I'm going to actually use this machine in my yard, we definitely want it to be safe as we can get it. So that's what we got going on now. And we're going to replace these hoses over here. Let's take a look. So this is the inside of this machine. And you can see it's pretty tore apart. And I chased down several leaks with this thing, getting it up and going. And it really would have started. I had it running, and then I decided that this leak right here, this axle seal leak, I wanted to fix that. So I pulled that out, and then I decided, you know, it's probably worth it to just replace all the hoses that we can, and then we're going to try and refurbish that reservoir tank. So we're going to cap off these auxiliary hydraulics because they're completely pooched. And we're going to pull them lines out of there. I think those were leaking a little bit. So I'm just trying to, once I put it back together, I'm just trying to mitigate, you know, as many leaks as I possibly can. And then this whole control section here, I had to take that out, and we had to refurbish, you know, all these parts. Throttle lever, control linkages, and you know, I had to all this stuff was completely, like, I mean, it was impossible to separate this stuff from the frame, as you can see. What we're dealing with. So, like, here's one side And here's the other side. And you can just see, like, you just hear that nasty, nasty crunch. But this machine was in horrible shape. I've had to buy this gas tank, and I don't know, it was probably scrap metal, to be honest with you. We've done an entirely new wire harness situation up in there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, I redid the wiring harness, and we put these exhaust fans in here, which seemed to work for the little time that I was using it. And then when I had it running, it was 100 degrees that day, and I mean it cooled just fine. Some guys said on the forums that had these machines, some guys said that you couldn't get away with that. But these are 24 volt fans, because that's a 24 volt alternator. And so I designed the entire system around 24 volts, right? So it takes fewer amps to power those fans, and they're high performance fans. And we've got them all rigged up to the pressure switch there. And I had it running for, an hour or so in the middle of summer, and the temperatures seemed to stabilize. And so you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. I had to make this battery box, and those are all in there nice and solid. And there's my wiring, my relays. And so this whole thing is just a kind of a custom rigged job, and I had to get this air cleaner in here, and it's become quite the project. New seat. Here's a better view of that wiring harness, maybe. So, yeah, it's been a project in the works. I've been working on this thing for quite a long time. Replaced this front hydraulic cylinder, and also had to replace that end because it was so rusted. I ended up screwing it up. So, but yeah, this is my 1985 Bobcat 843 semi, resto mod, I guess you could almost call it, right? Modern type cooling and wiring solutions. So originally these ran on these shaft, or should I say output shaft, from the flywheel. That's like runs right off the crank, and then that runs through this plenum. This big old, it's like a big vent that's supposed to go into the back of there, in the back of the engine here. I should say that's more like the front. And then that would focus the airflow from that fan that runs off the front of the engine off. That would force the airflow to go through the big radiator. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of horror stories with this fan assembly online, and it didn't really make sense to adapt that flywheel that's heavy. It didn't really make sense to adapt that flywheel to this engine. And so instead I went with a electrical solution, which may end up not performing as expected, but so far it seemed to work. And then I've got two more of those too, and I could upgrade the alternator, I guess, if we ever wanted to, get more CFM out of that unit. But that's such a big radiator, and I mean, I don't plan on using this thing like for any kind of commercial environment or anything. So it should be enough to pull air through the hydraulic cooler and everything. So, but yeah, this is my 1985 Bobcat project that I've been working on for what seems like an eternity. So, check back later. Make sure you like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to posting updates for you. Later.